Player keeps reloading trying to save every ally in a mission. One of their allies remembers every attempt. The helicopter lands near. Near enough that I'm worried a landing strut will cave in my chest before the bleeding in my abdomen can kill me. A thick red cross painted on the door seems to align perfectly in the center of my vision, like the crosshairs in my weapon's sights. The player slides the door open and rushes out onto the grassy field of dying men. He squats low and looks out to the horizon, where the sound of gunfire and occasional explosions play on repeat. He stands, drops again, lies flat, crawls around in a circle, then stands cautiously and spins around looking for direct fire. The voice of our commanding officer rings through the heavens. The enemy has pulled back the fight. Your brothers are dying, comrade. Quit wasting time. The player stands upright and pulls his medical bag out from his ass, like a rabbit from a top hat. He runs to the loudest voice in the field, that of Private James Gooey Gilmore. The bastards! Screams Gooey. They slice me right open. I see blood. Help me, Doc. There's so much blood. It's a rookie mistake, be lying to those who still have enough strength to cry out. A good medic knows what a good lifeguard learns first. When someone is drowning, they don't waste their breath crying for help. Private Milo Dotson on my right side is about to close his eyes. He'll be dead in 20 seconds if he doesn't receive a shot of adrenaline. 2 minutes, if that's all he gets. I give my cue to lead the player in the right direction. Milo? Wake up, soldier. You're not done yet. The player stays crouched over Gooey's leg wound. He's applying antiseptic and holding pressure over the bleed. Gooey could do that himself if the player knew how to calm him down enough to receive direction. I try a second time. Milo. Open your eyes, man. I know you're still there. The player seems to hear me. He stands and turns around, but Gooey does as he's programmed to do and persuades him to stay until the wound is closed up. The player pulls out a suture kit. Milo dies. And when Gooey finally lays back in the grass, content to murmur wordlessly through the pain for the rest of this level, only now does the player finally triage the rest of the men. He finds Milo, checks for a pulse, and finds none. Milo's dog tags begin to flash red, indicating that there's nothing that can be done now. The player would just have to accept the loss and more on to the next wounded. The helicopter lands near. Near enough that I thought for a moment it was going to split my body in two with one of the landing struts. The player slides open the door and runs straight to Gooey. He immediately pulls out the suture kit and begins to close the wound. He skipped the antiseptic. Bad call. But he did finish in time to check on Milo while I was just getting through my line. Milo? Wake up, soldier. You're not done yet. The player had trouble locating the injury. If he had gotten there in time to ask, Milo would have answered that someone got him from behind. Instead, the player fumbled around, peeling back the blood-stained uniform in all the wrong places. He didn't even pull out the adrenaline shot until Milo's pulse became undetectable. It brought him back, briefly, and the player got the answer out of him that the injury was somewhere beneath the left ribs on his lower back. The player rolls Milo on his side. He might get it in time. Milo could make it to level 2. But it's too late for me, Gooey, and Private Dennis. Private Dennis needed the larger pieces of shrapnel pulled out of his shoulder before they could do more damage. Gooey's wound is holding foreign bacteria and he will end up dying in the hospital somewhere between the level transitions. And by now I should have been given reassurance that I will be okay, otherwise I'll look down and freak out at the sight of my insides. I'll cry out and try to crawl away, backwards, kicking and screaming, and my entrails will trail out between my legs until I'm dead. Oh no, I say, looking at the blood on my hands that I've held tight to my stomach. Oh no, no, no. What is that? Oh God. And then I begin my death crawl. The player turns his head and just watches me go. I imagine the expressionless face is actually frozen in shock. It makes me feel a little better about my gruesome death. The helicopter lands near. The player flies out of the helicopter and makes the wise choice of ignoring Gooey's cries. He comes to me first, which I appreciate, but may still be a poor choice. I'm not going to need reassurance for at least 90 seconds. If he reassures me now, that will reset my countdown to self-destruction, leaving me in the same situation as he's found me, while wasting precious seconds that ought to be given to Milo and Dennis. You're going to be okay, he says in his character's assertive but kind Americana drawl. Just lie still, soldier. He checks on Milo and immediately rolls him onto his side. He's still waiting too long to give him the adrenaline shot, holding back until the heartbeat is audibly faltering in his headset. Milo? I cry, wake up soldier. You're not done yet. The player seems to register what I'm trying to hint at. He gives up wiping the blood off of Milo's back, then, seemingly out of frustration, he rapidly alternates between standing and crouching 8 times before. The helicopter lands near. The player jumps out and reassures me that everything will be okay. I still appreciate that. He then rolls Milo on his side while Gooey is shouting insults at him from the opposite side of the lawn. Milo's given a shot of adrenaline. The player sanitizes the hole in his back, slaps a temporary bandage on it, then rolls Milo back over the wound, using his own weight to apply the pressure necessary to stop the bleeding. Then he steps back and accesses the rest of his patients. Gooey begs out for help. The player ignores him. Dennis is delirious, but he does throw out enough clues to get the player's attention. I think it's still in there. I feel it. Grinding. The player comes to Dennis's side and inspects the mess of shrapnel in his shoulder. He has Dennis lie back then tells him, stop moving your arm. You're making things worse. It's a wasted breath when Dennis is already this far into delirium. Oh no, I say, looking at the blood on my hands. The player drops his tweezers and comes running to my side. You're going to be okay. Just lie still, soldier. I bring my hands back to my stomach and play back the 90-second loop of my side-to-side rolling motion. The player is doing well. So well in fact that by the time he has Dennis's shoulder wrapped up and the bullet removed from Milo's back, he's rewarded with the level's halfway point twist. 2 more soldiers from our platoon come limping through the smoke on the far side of the field. One is carrying the other by the shoulder and he's begging for help. The player comes to help him lay the new patient down beside me. When the healthy soldier asks what he can do to help, the player is given 3 commands to choose from. I have to see to one of the other men right now. Here's a dressing kit. Take his helmet off and start cleaning the wound. Stand back and let me handle this. I'm sorry. He's already gone. This is the hardest part of the level, because the sound of a dwindling heartbeat in his ears is telling the player that there's hope, that it's not too late. But by the 10 minutes of training he's received in the tutorial academy, and the amount of brain matter already dripping down the soldier's cheek, he should recognize that this is a lost cause, and the heart just hasn't caught up to the death that's already taken this one away. Oh no, I say, looking back at the blood on my hands. Oh no, I say, looking back at the blood on my hands. I have to see to one of the other men right now. Here's a dressing kit. Take his helmet off and start cleaning the wound. The player comes to reassure me that everything will be alright. When he returns to the new patient, he hears the heartbeat vanish completely. The soldier that carried him in is still cleaning the hole in his head. The player stands up and then stops moving. He stays that way, looking at nothing, for a minute or so. I'm guessing he's set down the controller and walked away. In the corner of his UI is a line of 4 dog tag icons. 2 are green. 2 are gray. Even if he lets me drag my guts out and lets GUI eventually time out and bleed to death, he's already past the minimum to proceed to level 2. But as I begin my third attempt at, oh no. The helicopter lands near. The player gets Milo on his side and begins digging around for the bullet. He forgot the adrenaline shot. The helicopter lands near. Milo and Dennis are saved again. The new soldier is dragged into the level. Stand back, says the player, and let me handle this. He wastes his time on a corpse with a heartbeat. Oh no, I say. Oh no, no, no. What is that? Oh god. The player comes to reassure me, but it's too late. I can't be stopped. The helicopter lands near. Milo is saved. Dennis's shrapnel is removed, but his wound is left unwrapped. I'm told everything will be okay, and I'm finally given the player's full attention. He gets all of what belongs inside of me back inside of me. He stitches me up. But he also leaves me unwrapped. GUI is finally given the attention he's been begging for. The player sanitizes the wound and easily stops the bleeding. He closes him up and fully dresses the wound. The second dog tag turns green. Mine and Dennis's are still gray. The new patient is dragged in. Stand back, says the player, and let me handle this. He has all the time he needs now. I can wait, and it will be at least another 2 minutes before Dennis gets so delirious that he picks at his wound and does as much damage as the untreated shrapnel would have. The player tries every tool in his bag. He has the soldier that dragged the corpse in help at every opportunity he offers. The heart in the headshot soldier still fades away to nothing. The helicopter lands near. The heart in the corpse still stops. The helicopter lands near. The heart in the corpse still stops. The helicopter lands near. The heart stops. The helicopter lands near. The heart stops, and the player shakes his suture kit in front of the dead man's face. He performs another rapid cycle of standing to crouching, standing to lying flat, crouching to standing. After this, I see him pull out a scalpel and try to move it through the dead soldier's body. The one that dragged him in doesn't seem to care that the medic has gone mad. He's still asking what he can do to help. The player gets up and stands still for another short while. I wait to see the helicopter land near. But, after a frustratingly long time, I watch the player's head swivel slowly. He's looking at me and Dennis, both of us still waiting for the finishing touches on our treatments. He looks down at the dog tags on this red herring. They're not flashing. The corpse is just a corpse. The unhelpful soldier asks what else he can do to help. I'm sorry, says the player. He's already gone. And at last, Dennis's shoulder is wrapped, and my hands are pulled away from my stomach. All 4 dog tags are flashing green. I get to be the one to thank the player for a job well done as we transition into level 2.